surprise shone light from distant northern skies. At that point, I realized I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. This is all an illusion, and I'm willing to play.
Welcome to the Quantum Guide Show, interviews with awakened masters as they share their quantum work with you. The Quantum Guide Show is produced by Karen Holton, creator of the 9 Steps to Quantum Health Transformation, a free 9-step online course to give you the tips and resources you need to thrive. Karen lost and continues to keep off 178 pounds of surplus body weight as she made her dreams come true. Whether you are awakening to the ascension process or simply want a wiser, more efficient lifestyle, this program is for you. No strings attached. The Quantum Guide Show is brought to you in part by Zendome's Orgonite, Karen's unique brand of orgone generators, ethically sourced, handmade, and double charged for maximum effect. Find out how orgone generators work and what they can do for you. Don't be fooled by imitations. Check out Karen's current selection, only available from her website, KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Quantum Health Transformation. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. My very special guest today is Jordan Maxwell, and we're going to talk about illuminating the darkness. But first, let me tell you a little bit about this very wise man. Jordan's area of expertise includes Astro-Theology, sexual symbolism in world religions, foundations of modern-day religion, world mysteries, ancient and modern, ancient symbols and occult emblems, ancient sciences and technology, hidden Bible teachings and mysteries, the sun in the history of politics and religion, the story your church doesn't want you to know, and secret societies and their influence on world events. Jordan Maxwell has been the preeminent researcher in studies of the occult and religious philosophy for over 50 years, at great expense to his personal life. Jordan has never had a choice and was compelled to pursue his lifetime's work. Jordan Maxwell is an independent scholar in the field of occult religious philosophy. His interest in these subjects began as far back as 1959. He served for 3.5 years as the religious editor for Truth Seeker magazine, America's oldest free thought journal since 1873. His work exploring the hidden foundations of Western religions and secret societies creates enthusiastic responses from audiences all over the world. He has conducted dozens of intensive seminars, hosted his own radio talk shows, guested on more than 600 radio shows, and written, produced, and appeared in numerous television shows and documentaries, including 3 2-hour specials for the CBS TV network, as well as the internationally acclaimed 5-part Ancient Mystery series, all devoted to understanding ancient religions and their pervasive influence on world affairs today. Jordan's motive was never monetary profit or gain, but rather a relentless pursuit of truth, which made him easy prey for a multitude of conniving and ruthless opportunists looking to make a buck off of his lifetime's worth of work and sacrifice. Being a preeminent researcher and independent scholar did not leave time to pursue being the consummate businessman, and particular self-serving characters took advantage of this as opportunities to exploit. This caused Jordan severe economic harm and made it very difficult for Jordan to obtain the basic necessities required to sustain life, let alone pay for legal fees and defend his rights. But Jordan battled on for his name, image, and life's work, and now he continues with his research and work. Welcome, Jordan, to the Quantum Guide Show. How are you?
Well, thank you very much, Karen. I think I'm doing okay, but we'll see.
hmm Um,
It's fascinating how much people don't know about the world they live in.
I agree. Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
How does so far we've talked about how the countries are corporations. We've talked about maritime law. Can you lead that into how it fits with the economy? Because our ignorance is really good for business. Could
Oh,
you
God,
explain
yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have a wonderful economy because nobody knows what's going on. We get ripped off just waking up in the morning, you got ripped off. Yeah, it's really quite a story. Uh, Maritime admiralty, Mira is like the water. The sea is called Mira.
Mhm.
This is why you have a mermaid. Mermaid is a babe, comes from the sea. Mermaid. Mer is the sea. And so that's why when the waves come in, we call it enchanting. They just sit and listen to the waves. They're enchanting. So enchanting sea is a merchant. And so therefore, if you're in business, you're a merchant.
Mm,
You are listening to the chant of the money coming into your catch registers, just like music to your ears. It's
mhm,
enchanting. It's enchanting, or it's like an entrance. You get entranced with your money and your business. That's
mhm,
why if you're going to do any business and you have a company, you have to have an entrance. So people can come into your business, they come in through the entrance. So
mhm,
they are entranced with the idea of doing business with money. So they are entranced, they come in the entrance. They go out the exit, but they come into the entrance. And so it's just interesting to watch words and terms and ideas and laws. Banking is all part of a system of words and terms which have been around for thousands of years. It came out of the Roman Empire. Today, America is the new Roman Empire, and Canada is part of our empire. It's
mhm,
part of the Roman Empire. And why? Because if you go back in the history books, go back and read about ancient Rome, it will tell you, you ask the question, where did Caesar rule Rome from? Where was he? We know in our country, Caesar rules from Washington, D.C. That's where the government operates from in America. But
mhm,
where did Caesar in ancient Rome, where did he officially officiate over his government? He in ancient Rome, we are told, ran his government of the whole empire from a place called Capitoline Hill. He was up on the hill. It's called Capitol Hill. Well, today we have a Capitol Hill.
mhm,
And the guys up on Capitol Hill, they actually believe they're Caesar. They represent God, like the Holy Father. The Holy Father in Rome on Capitol Hill. And so the Holy Father is holy because he communicates with God. He is the original Godfather. You get
mhm.
it?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Yeah. You start looking at words. He's the Godfather. He's the Holy Father who represents God. And then when you find out how the banks work, banks operate on maritime admiralty law. The basis for this was this. This is the way to understand it. Back in the Roman Empire, the Roman Empire did business all over the world through ships. And
Mhm,
so that's why today, if you do any business, they're going to ship it to you.
mhm,
Okay, so if they're going to ship something to you, uh, when a ship pulls in the harbor, here's the point. According to the Roman Empire's law, the ancient Roman Empire, all ships were female. All ships were named after women. That's
mhm,
why captains, a captain of an airship, a rocket ship, sailing ship, I don't care what kind of ship. If he's a captain of a ship, his name is captain.
Captain comes from the word capital, which is money. He's the capital of the ship. And it's a really interesting story about how all this stuff works. I get telephone calls all day long.
Sure you
Anyway, when a ship pulls into harbor, the ship is referred to as a female. And that's why captains will always say, she's a good ship. Oh, she's been very good. She's very seaworthy. She's this and she's that. She. Why she? Because ships are female because she delivers the product. Without her delivering, there ain't going to be no human race. She delivers the product. The male manufactures. The male is manufacturing with his partner, and she is in labor creating the product. So therefore, she is developing the product that he has manufactured. And therefore, when the ship pulls into harbor, it's a she. She is pulling into harbor, and where she parks at is at the dock. And so therefore, when every item that comes off that ship, say $800 million worth of televisions or Toyotas or whatever, every single item on that ship has to have its own paperwork to say how much does it weigh, what color is it, a 4-door, 2-door, how much does it weigh, what color is it, does it have air conditioning? Every single product must be accounted for, period. Why? Because it's international maritime admiralty business under British maritime law. Money is changing hands between Germany and America. When they send over $800 million worth of Toyotas, Japan is doing business with America, and Japan wants to get paid. They put up the money to produce the product. They send it over to us. When we officially accept it, we now owe Japan the money. And so therefore, she has delivered the product to us. And therefore, she has delivered a product on water. So out of the water comes the product. Well, that's the same way with you. You came out of your mother's water. You came down the birth canal. Right. And therefore, you are considered to be a maritime admiralty product. You are a product of water. And so today we say money goes through your hands like water. No, money is water. It's the liquid asset. And so when you begin to understand that that she, when she pulls into harbor, she has to have a certificate of manifest for every single item coming off that ship is going to be accounted for. So when $800 million worth of Toyotas come in, and then we tell Japan, well, we got you $750 million worth of Toyotas, they're going to say, wait a minute, we sent you $800 million. What are you talking about? You just lost $50 million of our money? Is that what you're telling us? Where did those cars go? We know how many we sent. And you're saying you got 50 million less. Where did those cars go? Prove it to us. And so therefore, it's called a maritime admiralty certificate. Why? Because it's coming off the boat and she brought it in on water. So it's called a certificate. But where the ship parks is called her berth. A berth is where a ship parks at the dock. And so every piece comes off of her has to have a birth certificate. And that's why when you were born, you have to have a birth certificate because your mother gave birth. And who signs your birth certificate? The dock signs it. That's when she was parked, at the dock. The dock signs your birth certificate. And you are a maritime admiralty product, which means the government has already decided they're going to make a lot of money off of you. You're going to pay taxes. You're going to pay fines and regulations and fees. They're just going to make a lots of money off of you. Why? Because you came down the birth canal. You are a water product, and you have to have a birth certificate. And so on the birth certificate, they will tell you how much you weigh, how many doors you have air conditioning, what color are you? Were you black or white or Native American? And so it's very interesting the way the world actually works.
It
And
is.
if you understand how the world works, then you will stay out of trouble because you know how to maneuver yourself in the world of business. It's a very serious world we live in. You can go to prison for saying things that you don't understand. That's why you have to have a lawyer. He's your mouthpiece. We call lawyers our mouthpiece. Why? Because he's been trained to know when you go into a court, you're playing a game like a basketball court, a tennis court. And anytime you're playing a game, you got to have an umpire. You got to have somebody who watches the game to make sure it's played right. And so that's what the judge does. The judge is not, he doesn't care who wins or loses, couldn't care less. He's there to make sure the game is played correctly. So if one group says one thing is wrong, the judge can step in and say, nope, you're wrong. He gets to serve now because you said something wrong, and so it's his turn. And then when you do something and it's wrong, the judge will say, I'm sorry, you can't do that. You have to let him do it now because you said something wrong, so it's his turn. And so you have to have a judge oversee the game. That's what we call them umpires. The umpires build the empire. And so the umpires will decide what's right and what's wrong. They're called judges. Judges wear black robes. Why? Because the planet Saturn, as a god, always wore a black robe. Look in the dictionaries on the black robes. It will tell you black robes were always the symbol of Saturn, the god Saturn. Saturn was called El in the Phoenician language, El. This is why you have in what we call the Hebrew, in the Jewish religion, they have a temple. They go to Temp-El. When did they go to Temp-El? They go on Saturn Day.
I was going to ask you how this all ties in with religion and in specifically the Church of Rome. Can you tie that into our
Oh,
discussion?
gosh, yes. That's what
Because
it's all about.
yeah, let's get into
The
the roots
Church of Rome was developed by Jewish Freemasonry, the Masonic order out of Judaism. That's why the Pope wears the yarmulke, a little Jewish headdress. All the cardinals wear the Jewish yarmulke. Why? Because the Roman Catholic Church is Jewish Freemasonry. You need to understand the Freemasonic and Freemasonry. They run the world you live in. The banks, the government, military, the schools, education, laws, everything is run by Freemasons. It's a Masonic world, which is based on ancient Jerusalem. And incidentally, there never was an ancient Jerusalem. That's another interesting point that people need to know. There never has been and never was an ancient Jerusalem, or an ancient Israel, I should say, ancient Israel. There was an ancient city called Jerusalem, but there was no ancient Israel that you read about in the Old Testament of the Bible about the King David and King Solomon and all these great kings and princes. None of those people ever existed. They were just a story. None of them. There was no King David. If you go back to the old 1500s when the first printing presses were pouring out the Bible and printing the Bible, go back to the old original Bibles and then go to the scriptures today. Go to the scriptures that talk about King David and then look those scriptures up in the old Bible, the old one, the original. And it doesn't say King David. It says King Druid. Not David, David, no. Druid, King Druid, not King David. It's been mistranslated through the centuries. King David was King Druid because the Druids were the religious people of the Roman Empire. They were called a holy priesthood. And from the Druids in the ancient Roman Empire, we get the Nazis. This is why there's a very strong connection that most people have no idea about between the Jewish religion and the Nazi religion of Adolf Hitler. Very obvious when you really look into it. That's why the Germans have Jewish names and the Jews have German names. Why? Because there's a connection between Germany and Jewish and Israel that you don't know anything about. And if you go back to the ancient history of Egypt, there was a people called Hyksos. Hyksos people, Hyksos meant the people who crossed over illegally, the people who came into Egypt illegally. They were coming across the border illegally into Egypt. The Egyptians called them Hyksos. They were Hyksos people. The Hyksos are what we call today the Hebrew people. And so when they came into Egypt, they came in illegally. They crossed over the border. There wasn't that tight borders like we have today. They could just come into Egypt anytime they want and eat and do whatever they please and make money. And when they want to, they could leave. And so they weren't paying any taxes. They just do whatever they want to do. And eventually the Egyptian changed government and called them Pharaohs. And the Pharaohs said, we're no longer going to have a female goddess like Isis. Isis was a feminine goddess. And the Pharaohs came in and said, we're changing all of that. I can do that because I'm Pharaoh. Whether you like it or not, that's what I'm doing. I'm changing the religion of Egypt. From here on out, we have a male god. He's going to be called God the Father, not the Mother. Because the mother is always the soft-hearted, taking care of the family, the nurturing, and we don't want a nurturing goddess in Egypt anymore. We want a man who's going to defend this country from people who are coming in and taking everything we own and ripping us off. So from here on out, we got a male god. He's going to be God. He's going to be called the God of War. He's going to be a violent, warring God. God the Father. He's taking care of the family of the Egyptians. And so they do that through the Pharaoh. So from here on out, we no longer have an Isis goddess, the goddess Isis. We now have a male god called Amun-Ra. Amun-Ra was a male god, God the Father. And so therefore, God the Father was Amun-Ra, R.A. We put a Y on him as Sun Ray. No, it was a sun god. His name was Ra, R.A. And so you take Isis, I-S, and Ra, R.A., and the Jewish god El, E-L, becomes Israel. Israel is Isis, Ra, and El, the three names of the sun god in the ancient Arabic world. So that's where we get the word Israel. Nothing holy about Israel. It's just the three names of the sun god.
Would that be the same time, basically, the birth of what we consider the patriarchy?
Yes, exactly. And in point of fact, there was no patriarch. There was no patriarch. There was no, what's his name? Abraham and Sarah. Abraham never existed. There never was a man named Abraham. If you go back to look at the religion and study theology like I have for 60 years, you will find out what I already know. Is that there was no ancient Israel, there was no ancient patriarchs, there was no Abraham or Sarah. Neither one ever existed. Because in India today, there's a very powerful ancient priesthood in India. They're called Brahmins. Brahmins. And the Brahmins say of themselves that they are God's chosen people. They represent the Almighty God of India, the Brahmins. So, but how does the Bible say Abraham was called in the Old Testament? Originally, he was called Abram, not Abraham. Abram,
Mm-hmm.
Abram, Brahmins. And so the A in front of Brahmin becomes Abrahman or Abram.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Abrahmins became Abraham. And and today in India, the Brahmins, if you talk with the Brahmins or read about the Brahmins, they will tell you that in the Brahmin religion of India, there is a very special goddess who is part of the Brahmin religion. She is very special to the Brahmins, like the Holy Mother, like Mary, the Mother of God. Well, in India, they have a Mary, Mother of God. Her name is Saraswati. Saraswati. Saraswati is the goddess of India, and she's connected to the Father. The Holy Father is Brahman. So you got Abraham and Sarah. No, it's Abrahman and Saraswati. So it's the same religion as India, and we picked it up. We call it Christianity and Judaism.
Yeah. I got to ask you, Jordan, in all of this, how do we express our free who we are? So, like for instance, if our country is a corporation and it thinks it owns our body, and the Pope thinks it owns our soul, and the commercial system is very much trying to own our minds.
That's right, exactly.
Where can we go, or how can we approach this so that we can step into our own sovereignty? Do you have suggestions?
Thank you for joining us for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to Karen's YouTube channel, click the like button, and share this show with your friends. Check out Karen's website at KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. All the links are available in the description box below. Until the next time, keep up the good work.
Endlessness puts all my inner strife to rest, for time gives birth to hurriedness. It all makes sense, well, more or less, and the sages put me to their test. With heart and soul I do my best to find the answers to my quest. I wonder and I